Hi guys, Jim here. Don't know whether you noticed on the test flight video that the Tucano was crabbing a little bit. So it's kind of going off, it just wasn't tracking right. So anyhow, after reviewing this back at the shop, we realized that one of the wheels was out of alignment. And I thought I had just a little, half a degree of toe in, which is probably optimal. But anyhow, this is what we had. So what I wanted was just a little bit of toe in like that, or at least zero like that. What I ended up with was one wheel was like this, and the other was kind of crabbed over more like that. And I thought, what the hell's causing that, Because my pins, which go into the oleo, there's two sets of them, top and bottom, and one goes into the retract itself. There's two sets which go in there, and then there's two sets which go into the oleo. And finally figured it out. I was off center on my drilling, and I thought I had it perfect, but I didn't. So I decided to fix that and designed a jig, and it works perfectly. So this video includes the jig, how I do it, and a little example of drilling them. So let's crack on. But before we do that, I'm just going to tell you that coming over the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to be a bunch of movies which are going to cover some real cool subjects. One of them is how to make a 5-bladed prop, or any bladed prop, I guess, out of all these parts. And also tips on how to save your retracts from cracking under heavy landings. I've come up with a solution, and videos on those, jigs, tips, and all the other crazy stuff are coming over the next few weeks. Thanks a lot. Alright, so first off, I designed a 3D model of the strut. I had done this way back to get the retract, rotation, everything correct. I then designed a block which just goes around the perimeter of the strut to make sure that I've got enough room at the top and at the bottom of the fork so it can lay flat once I cut it out. After ensuring that the center of the strut is aligned exactly with the top of the block, next was to make a cutout in the center of the block so that the scissor fork could flip over and not hit the bench. I then made another block with a couple of ribs on it to get an alignment. After moving all the objects around to get the placement that I wanted, it was time to do a combine with a cut. Now that you can see the image, the cutouts were made so that the lower fork cut out the bottom of the block, and the strut and the top block cut out the top of the block. So this gives me an alignment to get my drill lined up. I then exported the 3D part into Cura, and then saved the left side off, and then I just simply mirrored the same left side to create a right side, which gives me a left and right jig. So here's a close-up of the strut, which I'm now just going to place into the left block, if I recall. Oh no, sorry, the right block. And I've got the fork up. I then put the top block on, which is lined up with those grooves, so it's recessed. It fits perfect. I can then take my center punch and just punch it like that, and that gives me a punch indent, which is exactly in the center of where I need to be. Then I can either flip it over and put it into the right block, and the left block, and then do the same again. This gives me a hole on both sides. Alternately, I could just simply do it on one side and drill all the way through, which I'll show you in a later video when I actually drilled this all out. So now it's a simple matter of just laying the jig onto the drill bed, and then making sure that the strut is sat firmly into the jig, And then I line up the drill with the indent from the punch and simply drill. In this case I drilled it once all the way through, front and back, or I should say top and bottom, and it came out perfectly centered. As you can see, it's just a very nice, clean and zero-centered hole. Now it's just a simple matter of selecting the correct tap for the hole size, and then tap your thread into there, and in this case I used grub screws.